Ooh, a dynamic open. Crusty old crow back again to do another hot mic on this beautiful snowy Saturday morning here in Ottawa. How's everybody doing out there today? You all good? I hope so. Shout out to our new subscriber, Kevin. Thanks for joining the murder. Appreciate having you here, and appreciate the time you're sharing with us, guys. Doing another tactical perspective hot mic, and I'm just going to talk about some random shit that doesn't fall under a toy review per se, or the spec fire stuff, which I will get to another day, maybe. We'll see. Or any of the other kind of sit reps or any of the other stuff I'm doing. This is just more my thoughts and theories and speculation on where G.I. Joe Classified is heading in the near future or distant future, and some stuff I've observed over the last week and things like that. Just stuff that's been on my mind. So, you know me, crusty old crow. I'm not, for those of you new to the channel, I'm that Canadian veteran that applies his logic and his ADHD and his different kind of perspective on G.I. Joe Classified figures and the Hasbro approach to these and things like that. And I'm very opinionated and I have a lot to say. However, I don't know if I'm necessarily as crusty as I say. So one of the guys I'm going to talk about today, you wouldn't think would have much to do with G.I. Joe. But if you've been following the Crow, you know that Crow has some other interests outside of Joe. And one of them is the Toronto Maple Leafs, the hockey team. My hockey team. It has been my hockey team throughout my life, off and on over the years. They've never had really a good time in my lifetime. It was a team that my family liked, and I inherited it. Pardon me. So this week there was a very impressive thing I just want to share you guys, especially you guys that aren't hockey fans. Hear me out. I know these guys are celebrities and multimillionaires, and they have these contracts that nobody likes. But Mitch Marner has earned his place here on the Tactical Perspective, in that he emulated a very Joe way of doing business this week. And let's talk about living your childhood dreams, guys. I as much as I joke about my military experience, and it wasn't all great, it was ups, it was downs, and everything like that. I realized, a while ago, I kind of got to live my dream. If my dream was to live a day as G.I. Joe, I did 25 years as some form of that, not to that extreme degree. I wanted to be a comic writer. I wanted to be a comic artist. I didn't get to follow that dream, but I got to follow my dream about getting to know Joe better. I did. Mitch Marner got to follow his dream for playing with the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a kid that was born in Markham, Ontario, as part of the Greater Toronto area. Always wanted to play for the Leafs, and then he finally got his shot in 2017. He became a legend on the ice. I found this on the web. Oh, me too. Cool. Let's just keep it down, though. You mind, Siri? I'm shooting a video. Last week, Mitch Marner, he's playing against Florida. And he takes a puck, an 88-mile-per-hour puck, to the face, right off the side of the chin, and he winds up having to go back to the locker room immediately because he's bleeding out. And he gets 12 stitches put in his chin. They slap a cage on his mask, and he goes out and finishes the game. And I don't recall I don't think the game turned out to be a winner for them. I think it was a OT loss. Can't remember. Anyways, the other day, you got to remember, when it comes to these players and their high contracts, right? When you're injured, you get protected, and your team usually puts you on the bench for a little while to protect you. And a lot of players, when they take a shot to the face, be them NBA or MLB or NHL, right? That's usually a week off or something, right? Mitch Marner wasn't having it. He got the bubble put on his cage, like this big glass dome, and there he is laying on the ice after taking that shot to the face. And there he is with his 12 stitches in his face. He hasn't shaved in a day or two, and you can tell he's uncomfortable, right? Talking to anybody. Gets this dome put on his mask, and you'd figure that would equate to very little ice time and not contributing a whole lot, not hitting, not doing anything. Marner says, no, and he goes out. And while everybody's laughing about how he fumbles with his mouth guard, he's notorious for playing with his mouth guard, the guy goes out and scores a friggin' hat trick. He's the only Leaf scoring in that game. Pretty much. Scores himself a hat trick that night with that big, intrusive, sensory-depriving bubble over his head. The dude was fearless. He scores a hat trick. He becomes the player of the game, hands down. He gets his little Leafs belt in the locker room. Yeah, it's incredible. He also went on to win the game because that game got tied 3-3 with them in Seattle. They go to overtime, and then it goes to a shootout. Austin Matthews, thank you very much for him, Arizona. Austin Matthews got one of the goals, but Marner got the one that sealed the deal in the shootout as well. So, if anything, Marner displayed some amazing leadership, perseverance, and drive. He was a little reckless. You know, he could have exasperated that injury at any point during that game, and the management rolled the dice by letting him play. But my God, you talk about winning on a risk. That was it. So, who do I associate him with now? Well, I'm going to go Mitch Marner's honorary steel core, because I had already played around with this head, and I'm not committed to it, but my God, if ever that jaw fit, that was it. So there's your little Mitch Marner steel core trooper, and we'll have him in the background. So I just wanted to, and this is what I do on these hot mics, guys. It's just Joe fun. So take it with a grain of salt for what it is. A little later on today, I am expecting this bad boy in the mail to go supplement my Crimson Guard army. I'm going to call that my main army. And that will have adds to it for, I guess, Python Patrol from what we've seen. But I did lay awake again last night trying to solve that conundrum of what was going on with my Ripper. Where is he? How come I can just order him direct online right now, but my pre-order hasn't come? And it concerns me. And of course, I've got to wait till January for the Wolf Spider that I've ordered from Walmart. But that one I am so excited about. So you can expect that review to come with a lot of joy come around January 17th, apparently. Speaking of January, okay, so I mentioned in my last video about the Mutt pre-order and what I saw on Amazon. I have Amazon Prime. I go on Amazon Prime just to check stuff like this out and see what they're saying. And they're telling us that the G.I. Joe Classified Series 113, which is Mutt and Junkyard, is expected for a release date of, what are they saying, January 15th, 2024. Now, guys, if you've shopped Amazon, I don't know if the States has a different experience with what they put out there than what we do, but for you Canadians that have shopped Amazon, if you've looked, the previous waves, they've always said we're coming out at a certain date. That was actually further back from the date they actually hit those other retail shelves like GameStop, Toys R Us, Walmart, to name a few. So when I see a January 15th release date for Mutt and Junkyard, it's making me think that that's probably more December 15th, in and around that bracket, guys. So I think we're looking at a Mutt and Junkyard pre-Christmas release up here. I'm hoping that's how I'm reading the room on that one, but don't hold my feet to the fire on that, guys. That's speculation at best. But there is a difference again, and Amazon always makes it confusing. Like I said, I mentioned before how Tomax and Zaymot were two different prices on Amazon. Always were. One was $1 more. Metalhead, number 118 in the series. He's got a release date of March 1st, 2024. So that tells me that's going to be a post-Christmas release, perhaps even a post-New Year's release. I'm looking more around January 15th to February 15th for that. That's my speculation. So I just thought I'd share those little things like that with you guys. I always forget to do this at my videos right till the end when you guys have long left the video, because I know how long I make them. But don't forget to do that if you're trying to, support this channel. It's fine. And if you don't do it, guys, I don't take it personally. It doesn't stop me from making videos. But don't forget to share if you're a part of any Facebook groups or Twitter groups or anything like that, and you think, something I've said is relevant to some people that that might want to hear it, go ahead and do that. And then, as always, if you haven't done that, please feel free to do that. I am trying to slowly grow the channel. I like this comfortable under 200, but I'm looking, I'm going to be doing this for a while. You guys hear me coming up with different ways. You've realized there is no cork for this bottle. when it comes to Joe. So I see myself at this for quite a while. I would like to eventually get to that point where I can just take whatever sponsorship comes at 1,000 or whatever they do for you, and just re-roll that into contests and giveaways, because I don't need this, right? Like I'm having a good time as a retiree. You guys are free to comment if I ever strike a nerve or strike a memory or strike something that you want to say. You just go ahead and put it in the comments. And then, like I said, guys, some of you have reached out asking about PO boxes and emails. And I always, when you ask me for my email, in that comment, I put down my email, because I love talking to you guys, and I realize limiting, putting a comment on an open forum like YouTube can sometimes curb the things you want to actually say about stuff. And when it comes to an email, you can be completely open and honest with me, and put whatever you want on there. So feel free to use that. Just ask me for the email. I'll put it in the comments. And no, I don't have a P.O. box. I have a home address. And let's talk really quickly about just a big thank you to you guys who have been supporting this channel and watching it slowly grow, and have been spending this time with me. I really appreciate you guys. You're generous with your time, you're generous with your thoughts, and you're generous with your praise. I really do appreciate that. And like I said, I mean, like, I do go out and I poke other bigger guys in this YouTube community, and that's not me trying to grow my channel. That's me trying to get some knowledge out of people, because I want to learn more about this stuff so I can contribute more to the viewers about the things they want to hear about, right? And things that are relevant. So I feel like I'm growing into this channel well enough. And this is my retirement project. This is my hobby. Whether I was doing YouTube or not, I would be buying these figures up in droves and collecting, just as what you see back here, guys. And I have a substantial enough collection. I'm proud of it. It's not... It by no means do I have all the figures represented. No, there's huge gaps and waves that I didn't really get much of. But I'm okay with that. You know, like, I look at it the same way a kid did in, say, 88, and they just discovered Joe. Are they going to be able to go back and get the 82 originals? No, not really. They have to wait to see if those are ever re-released. They missed their shot at maybe getting a Lady J or Scarlet in their army, and or, you know, the first Snake Eyes, whatever, you know. I look at Classified the same way. But the nice thing is I do have my opportunities to get things out of the back catalog every now and then. What I am saying, guys, is a couple of you have really just kind of opened up that generosity valve and offered me your kindness in offering to send me a figure out of your collections, and that is overwhelmingly flattering. I'm a guy that gets really awkward with praise and offers like that. In the military, whenever somebody would say, "Oh, see me in my uniform, say thank you for your service," I felt super awkward. I was like, man, I didn't, like, it's okay, thank you, no problem. That was a job for me. I was happy to do it. This makes it a little awkward, but I understand it's coming from a good place. Same vein, it's a little awkward. I know it's coming from a good place, guys, but I don't like to ask for anything. You know that. I tell you guys, I'm not here to get a whole bunch of sponsors so I can grow my collection. I'm here to, if I get sponsors, to just have fun and whip off, have amazing contests like Aaron the Toy Maker does. If you haven't checked out his site, check out his contest. It's amazing. I won't tell you any more about it. You got to go find out. But I want to do that stuff on a sponsor's dime, sure, but not off your backs. These are your collection. I love these figs. When I go out and I buy one of these, not this guy per se, but when I go out and say, I spend my money on a figure that I was really after for quality or whatever interest I had in that figure, I'm forming a connection with that figure. Right, that's part of my little collective family. That's part of my ADHD. It's a perspective I have, and I know not everybody shares this perspective, but it's they become special every time they hit my hands, right, when they're mine. And I went out and I bought them, and I think that's how it is with a lot of you guys. And to hear you want to spare one of your figures at your collection, to me, while that is so generous of you, to me, I would be like, you will miss that figure. You
bought that figure for a reason. Maybe it lacks luster to you now, but you will revisit that moment. They're good at making you revisit things in their line. So please, by all means, hang on to your figures. When I talk about my gaps, these are just the obstacles of collecting in general. And I look back at my videos, I'm like, did I ask these guys to make that offer? And maybe my focus on the Alley Viper or Beachhead or Blood or whatever has made that focus, and I didn't mean it to come off that way, guys. This is just passionate Joe talk. So thank you once again for all that, guys. It's not necessary. The most I would say on that is, you know, if you're trying to drive that, I want to support your channel. What I would do is, hey, if you wanna put one of yours figures in a box that you haven't seen me review or talk about, or you know I haven't handled yet and haven't looked at, put it in a box. Don't include the box that came in. Just put the figure in a box and you ship it to me, and I'll give you the address in an email if you ask for it. I'll do a review, talk about you send me some information about you, and we grow this channel as the Murder of Crows it should be, where we all get to know each other, and then I mail that back to you. That would feel amazing. Wouldn't that be that? Like, that would be my middle ground, guys. You know, like I said, Band of Brothers said it best, but I think it goes back to an older saying, guys. Never put yourself in a position where you can take from these men, and that's who I want to be for you. I don't want to be dragged into these conversations about who's a shill, who's out for what. I'm out for the love of this Joe. Like they say in Dub Money, I love the stock, and I'm really attached to how you guys have been supporting me already. You know, that's good. So enough about that. What else has come up this week, guys? You've heard me talk about how I want this Arctic line to grow. Right now, I am really struggling to find anything Arctic out here, and I had my Arctic bat. Oh, that's right, my Arctic bat is put away because I was going to go take it out on a photo shoot at some point this week with the winter. Unfortunately, I can't get a snow serpent, and I can't get a snow job. Oh, you're dirty old military mind. I could get a snow job if I was willing to pay. This conversation doesn't get any better after that. Moving on. Where was I going? So Arctic line, I've said there needs to be more for this line. Now, if you guys pay attention to who I've subscribed to, I'm subscribing probably to the exact same people you are. And there is another veteran in the community. Big shout out to it's Chad, who I've been kind of picking out some of the stuff he's been talking about. He is a U.S. veteran. He's one of yours. And if you haven't checked him out, by all means do so. But I'm not holding, and Chad knows this, I've said this in a comment on his video, I'm not holding Chad's feet to the fire, but he brought up a very interesting topic in the Snowcat. And as soon as he started talking about it, I was like, because you guys know me, man. I really wanted the Snowcat to at least start getting talked about. I was an advocate for it being a HasLab project because I thought with the number of absent Arctic Joes that were available between 82 and 94, and you see me touch on those videos, there was a good bank for them to draw a tier and lease package like they had done with HasLab's HIS project, which you guys are now getting. I'm so jealous of you guys. I'm so happy for you guys too. If you guys got one of those, email me some pics. Do some pics. So all the links and all your, how are you showcasing that? Show me. Tell me you got it. Ask for the email. Send me the pics. I'll show them here. Show off your HIS tanks. Anyways, Dragonfly, same deal. Tier unlocks. And I thought that this vehicle had a lot of potential for some good tier unlocks. But apparently, what has been heard through third-party discussions and people that there is an error of trust going on in these conversations. And this information comes out as non-committal. Okay? You take it as it is given to you. Heard from. It's like that scene in Ant-Man when it was like, and the dad says, no man, you don't understand, the Snowcat is coming. And he was all like, what, the Snowcats are coming? How did you hear this? And he was all like, oh, so I was talking to Luis, and Luis was talking to Rodriguez, and Rodriguez. No, it's not. It's basically that path of flow for information. Now, some of those sources in that chain are one would think reliable enough that it's worth talking about. So the Snowcat has come up, but not as a HasLab, as a possible retail release that could be, we could be expecting this. I just don't know when. I only know that from what we're hearing, the conversation has happened, and that, there's intent somewhere for the Snowcat. And I'm very happy about that, because this is a very versatile looking kit, and I could understand it being a retail kit. But what it'll do is it'll look at what I've been saying about the Vamp sales. Once we see what the Vamp and Stinger and the MMS sales are like, and the response from the community on whether or not this line can proceed with vehicle releases the way that we say we want them, that the Snowcat will be that story, right? You're going to sit back. Some of you are going to buy everything, right, when these vehicles come out. And some of you are going to be very picky, because the vehicle price point for the Vamp, I think, is sitting $150 and under US, somewhere in there. Canada, I'm hearing anywhere 125 to 175-ish. It's irrelevant. Like, that one side's paid, then you're looking at the template for what the Stinger is going to cost. And if that Stinger is coming with an MMS, then if the MMS is sold, you can start doing the math and taking the law of averages for what these plastic size comparison kits versus cost and price points are going to be. So they're already talking about a Snowcat kit, and they're already extending that max retail vehicle price point budget to be in the 175 to 200, and I think that's US, guys. So Canada, I think we're looking at seeing our vehicles being up to 250, but available retail. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a great thing, because if this wasn't available on the retail market, and it was going to be a HasLab, you were going to pay the price, whatever price they had set with it, and you were going to reap the benefits of tier on leases, certainly. But there would be an exclusivity to this, and it would be made of unobtainium for some people, right? Sure, it would absolutely come with Frostbite, and I think the new one will, right? There's your zoom in. Everybody remember this? I loved that thing. I loved it. So the thing about it being a retail is, once it goes to a big box store, be it either Target or Walmart or Toys R Us or GameStop, what have you, then you're subject to big box store marketing, right? So you're going to get that whatever price point, and it'll probably be the highest end of that version of price point within $10 of each reflective store, even Amazon. 10 to 20 bucks, law of flux on that price point. But then you can get into clearance sales, seasonal sales, coupons. I've lost count of how many Toys R Us coupons I have that will give me, $10 off my next $50 purchase before taxes, or $20 off my next 100. Those coupons are always available. And when you get memberships at places like GameStop, you do get a notable reduction off the price. You start getting that better price point on the vehicle as opposed to the average price point. So this thing will be a big deal when it comes out, because it's going to set that higher bar. There was talk about people who are insistent that the Rattler is coming next. I know that the Liam over at Viper Island really feels strongly about that one, and he sees evidence out there in his perspective. And I can respect anyone's perspective in the evidence they can gather and they can validate to themselves. It's not always confirmational bias sometimes, guys. Sometimes it's breadcrumbs that lead you in a certain direction, right? So I wish people would cut each other a little bit of slack for their speculation. Just because somebody puts it in a pretty slideshow doesn't mean it's not just speculation, right? Even if they say it's more than speculation, we should be treating it as mature adults, as though it is just speculation, and stop reacting over every little verbatim thing said. I hope so. Oh God, I hope that doesn't happen here. So the thing about the Snowcat, when I look at its versatility, that I want to focus on in this discussion is what does this bring to the table? Yeah, winter is coming, boys. And I say that because I'm pretty sure there's still no girls. You got your 2 crew compartments, so there's some playability factor, and we've seen that canopy on the Hiss that they can kind of work with on the Snowcat as well. So you'll definitely get some play factor out of that and be able to house at least 2 figures in a Snowcat's front cab again. And remember, it had all the ability to put them on the side. So you're going to look at sidebars with handles for the Joes to kind of grab onto, maybe some foot posts, maybe not. I don't think I want foot posts on these new molds. I think I just want places for them to grip. But you could see them gathering up on the sides and the back. Now, this doesn't have the back piece on there because I have this picture to accent another point. I want you to look at where we can do some modernization and versatility with this. The Snowcat, while it's iconic as this vehicle, this missile launching, snow sled, slinging missiles, ski missile thing, and it is a manner of troop transport in that guys could cling to the side. What you're essentially looking at, there's another picture for those of you who also had it, right? I had it for a short time before I traded it away, I think. What you're essentially looking at is a half track, right? So the half track was a versatile multi-role kind of platform for a lot of roles. It was a troop transport. So you could have, when it comes to the Snowcat, perhaps you had a option for the back where you could take all turret and missile launcher assemblies off and slide that little compartment out and put in a seating capacity in there for maybe 4 figures like that, right? Or put a cupola up like the one you see at the front of the vehicle there. Anti-air weaponry could be brought into play, especially if the Rattler were to be dialed down to, go away, Siri. No one wants to talk to Siri right now. Okay. There's those pipes. Remember, I'm in my basement. No one cares that I'm here. But yeah, remember that Rattler could, if we started moving those price points at Hasbro on retail vehicles, that Rattler could end up being a retail at $200 at the max price, right? Like if you look at the Rattler, it's a narrow plastic kit. It's just long in places, but there's not a whole lot of beef in it, right? So achievable. But anti-air roll for a Snowcat. Picture all this white, right? Perhaps an AM roll. This isn't an AM, but it made me think of an AM roll for a second there. Yeah, an AM roll for Doc. Perhaps. It could also lead to a very smaller vehicle price point on the horizon with the introduction of the Polar Battle Bear, which I'll get to in a second, but I'll get to it now. The Polar Battle Bear, remember, was synonymous with Snow Job when they came out in the 80s, if you were around for that. And it's a small snowmobile kit. Not a whole lot of beef to this one either. It didn't come with a figure then, shouldn't now. But it was really just a place for you to stick 1 figure and maybe two to 3 riders. And it had some towing ability for whatever. I can't even remember what it was able to tow, if they ever came out with a vehicle just to tow. And then, and then you had your schematics. So what do we got on there? We've got the number 5, the Vorgiven Vorglukskupstel. And the number 8 is the roll bar. And number 10 is the Slepach. And so this is clearly Swedish. But where I'm going with it is, so far they're introducing us these medium to high vehicle price points. MMS is not a very big kit. It's an isolated weapons platform. I remember these well because they often didn't come with a figure, but they were kind of cool little accessories for stay still, defend your base kind of play, right? Yeah, they were towable, but you weren't firing on the tow unless you were, whatever. Not talking about that. But they were a lower price points than, say, the Vamps, the Mobats, the Awstrikers. Not much lower, but lower. So on the Hasbro market, I could see, MMS being maybe an $80 kit when the Vamp's $125. And I'm just using that to state the difference, right? When it comes to a thing like a polar bear, I think that's going to be reflective of the ferret, but the ferret will be coming with a rider, right? So I'm looking at the polar bear and I'm thinking, if we just got that, all right, looking at the amount of plastic, scale, And then what we saw as far as price comparisons back in the day, I think you're looking at your first possible vehicle that you could be getting for your Joe collection in and around the $60 or 75 and under mark for sure, since the Ram and Coil, right? So just something small like that, just a little bit beefier than a bike, no extra figure, perhaps some extra details that we didn't see or features that we didn't see in the original 80s design. But I think the Polar Bear will be the new set for that, and I could see it being followed by a Fang for Cobra. Just again, going into the amount of plastics being used in the mold, where Hasbro is trying to set those price points on vehicles, and what vehicles they've identified setting price points for, which have strictly been weapons, platforms, and vehicles with drivers so far, really. And what we saw already released, which has only really been motorcycles, right? So that's my thoughts on the Snowcat as far as where it can go on the market and on the retail and where that discussion is. I am satisfied just with the third-hand rumor I've heard of it being discussed. I'm satisfied that at least the discussion has been had at some degree at Hasbro about a Snowcat. And in having that discussion, I can back off and relax a little bit and say, I'm probably going to see it. You know, up until 2 weeks ago, I didn't have that kind of faith. So again, this is why I watch other guys. It's not to sit there and go, well, you said it's going to happen. It's you kind of give me some excitement for this product, and that keeps us going, right? And that's all I wanted to share with you guys. And thanks again to It's Chad for bringing up the Snowcat topic on your last video. I appreciate that. Vehicles that are outstanding that could also fall under that point, that where it's like almost Polar Bear, maybe MMS points, is the water moccasin. We need to have a water moccasin. But it can't come with a figure, if you ask me at this point. We already have figures for it in our Copperheads. Now we have a standard Copperhead and the Python Patrol variant. So coming up with a third Copperhead to slap in with a moccasin kit and then bump that price point up to, say, Vamp level doesn't really make any kind of strategic sense. But it also doesn't make any strategic sense that they wouldn't do anything about it right now. Right now, if you were to type in G.I. Joe Classified Water Moccasin, this is definitely going to be one of the images you see, and this is credit to the guy who printed and displayed this, not a slam against them at all. The 3D printing market has a lot of Joe Classified scale vehicles, and pretty soon, if Hasbro doesn't attack this strong, they're going to have a lot of their market who will suddenly claim, well, I'm only a real casual collector for the vehicle side. I love the figures, but it's more affordable for me to print these vehicles because, again, they're not going outside and playing with them like a bunch of kids. They're just displaying them, right? So it's important Hasbro gets on the water moccasin soon. So how would they do it? I think they would do it like an MMS price point level, no figure, play features, it's dealt with. Would they do that, say, for... because also conversionists and scratch builders are also using other competitors' vehicles of that scale to substitute where they could have had revenue. That's another reason they need to get on this, right? But this could also carry over to, say, CoverGirl, who I've often said brings the firepower with that tablet of hers and having a stationary parked Wolverine somewhere that's slave to her tablet and can call for fire. But getting a Wolverine out there is another thing where I would look at MMS price for a vehicle, just based on the amount of plastic and playability and not throwing in a driver. However, if they wanted to throw in another CoverGirl, they haven't done a variant of her yet. They just keep doing variants of Scarlet. Lady J gets a retro figure and CoverGirl gets her standard. But you can see, like, there's the old one. These are post original line after the first CoverGirl. Then you get the ones that came out in the after the 94 series there, and other lines, other producers. All right, I've seen these variants of her. It's always the same kind of outfit and uniform, different hair, different face sculpt, different makeup every time, different weapons. But I thought this would work maybe as a new variant for CoverGirl. And if not that one, then the same colors that they're using for Glenda in the Dragonfly tier unlease that comes with that. I laugh. I always think of those as Agents of Shield from Marvel Comics, and I always thought Shield Team 6 would look amazing next to my Joes. And maybe one day I'll buy enough Shield agents or something from Marvel Legends to do that, because you guys know I really, really, really actually do like that Tigra figure I picked up from Marvel. I know it wasn't Legends, but man, that's a very articulate figure. Of course, she's not wearing anything for kid. That's okay. It's fun to have a couple of those figures in your collection. So yeah, that's Snowcat thing. One other thing I wanted to talk about is just some of my experience as an armored soldier and gunnery is, yeah, what if we got rid of that missile rack? Right? We didn't get rid of it, but we make a replacement feature. So you could re-roll those twin guns from the Vamp as a cupola weapon that sits more forward, right around here, and get rid of the weapons rack if you did that troop carry exchange. Or what if we did something new? Oh, Crow, what do you mean new? New to us or new to you? New to them. I would love to see the Bushmaster, the 25mm Bushmaster cannon, show up either as a twin gun, like two of them on either side of that sponson that holds the missile launcher, as an option. And perhaps just substituting that whole anti-air. It's not a great anti-air. It's medium armor and it's anti-structure, right? But this is the gun I use the most in my career as a recce soldier, because this is what our Lavs are outfit. My Coyotes are the same as your American Lav 25s. The difference being is, well, your Lav 25s have that marine drive at the back. My Coyotes, there's my pointer. Your marine drive, a couple props at the back. Our Coyotes replaced that and put in big fuel cells to go longer and longer distances. And also we put in a surveillance suite so that we could do our observation tasks. But this is what you don't see about the Bushmaster. This is what it's like inside that turret. And this is the back of the gun. This is what the crew sees. This is the controls. It's a really weak picture of them firing the gun. But it's a very cramped space, and you've got these feed chutes that link up to the primary ammo and the secondary ammo, because you have two types, right? And we have lots of different types of these. But for a one-man non-enclosed function, it would look like that, right? So could we do an enclosed function? No, it'd be too hard with classified. You'd have to get into vehicles that could open up with panels and break or do weird stuff. It'd be a HasLab extravagance project at best. But to do something like that on the back of a Snowcat, perhaps, all done in white, is one option. Like these little clip-and-play weapon options for a half-track vehicle could be on there. I think it would be cool. There's a Sentry version, like just an automated version. But really, it just breaks down to this simple gun, which is really just 4 components, really. It's an upper receiver housing, which just kind of clocks everything. It's the lower receiver that holds the main weapon, the bore, the breech, and the barrel on. The barrel comes off and on, so we can clean it and take it apart. And then it's just a track and bolt system, much like a standard bolt system with a rifle, right? This would look amazing and very simple and large on a classified scale if it were introduced with any of these new vehicles. And it would be part of that modernization, right? Because as these vehicles start coming out, what we're going to start seeing after the Stinger and a few others is some very fictitious weapons that could be drawn back to something very, very real, right? So they don't all have to be 105 cannons and phalanx machine guns, guys. They can be things like a 25mm Bushmaster cannon and be very effective for both play function and aesthetics, right? So and there you go. That's the back of it. That all comes apart. Crusty Old Crow's got a lot of time putting those things back together again and making those go click, click, boom. But lots of different types of ammo, right? You have your armor-piercing, fin-discarding, stabilized sabot, or fin-stabilized sabot. You have frange, so frangible ammo. That's good for disintegration. It's like flechettes, so that would be maybe your anti-air, like any helicopter for sure. And then HEI, so heat. and just things like that, right? So, very versatile. The Americans have it on their Bradley, guys. So, I think that's going to be good enough for Hot Mic today, guys. I've ranted on about a few things and I feel better. Pretty soon, my figure will be on my doorstep and I'll have a nice new shiny Joe to talk to you about. But listen, guys, I really appreciate all you. Thanks again for all the things I was talking about earlier. And if you do like or subscribe or share or comment or whatever, promote this channel anyway and any of that stuff, I really appreciate that. Thanks very much, guys. You mean a lot to me. In that it's nice to have like-minded people just hearing you out. So I'll talk to you next time, guys.